Dear friends, today we have with us an actor who needs absolutely no introduction. An internationally acclaimed star, winner of several international awards as well as the prestigious national award. Adil Hussain, thank you so much for joining us.
It is a absolute pleasure and a joy to be here talking to someone who is from the other part of the world. I have not really visited many a times, but I had been a few times there. And Australia today, I quite often read and hear what you guys are doing there. So it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you, Adil. Let's start with your journey. When did you decide that you wanted to become an actor? And if you could just give us an insight into your own journey to begin with.
I think it was pretty young. I was pretty young. I was around 8 years old when I did my first play. But before I did the formal play on the stage, I used to be the clown of my family. I used to imitate my neighborhood elderly people. My teachers would come back home and I would imitate them in front of my neighborhood friends, and they would laugh and my mother would laugh. And then in the kindergarten, when I was in class one, which is probably just after the upper KG, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, so the annual day, they celebrate the annual day by all kinds of activities. So theater was one of them, and I was cast in the school play, directed by my class teacher, and that sort of cemented my that joy that I used to get performing in front of my neighborhood friends. And then it was the largest audience that I have ever faced, till then,
Mhm.
and that felt so good. The audience, the facing the audience is one thing, but the way I felt while I was on the stage,
Yeah.
that kind of heartbeat which goes fast, and the nervousness, and then the time sort of stood still. It felt like 5 minutes, though the play was for half an hour.
Mhm.
So I think that was probably the main ingredient behind my decision, which I took later when I was probably around 14 years old, that this is what I would like to do. But till then, till I was 14, I continued participating in school plays and neighborhood plays and theater. And probably a lot of people don't know in that part of the world that I come from the state of Assam, and Assam is culturally very vibrant.
Mhm.
We have every neighborhood would have a drama club or a music club or a music band or a dance group. So yes, I was lucky to be born in that part of the world.
Yeah, and then I think you went to the National School of Drama, and it's interesting for us because those times were different, and the film industry is such a cutthroat industry. So, did you have a lot of struggle, or is it that your path was probably easier than some other actors that we hear about?
Um, it wasn't easy. I can't say it was easy because uh, I come from almost like the farthest corner one can imagine in India from Bombay.
Yeah.
I'm in Assam. Bombay is on the west coast. It's like going from, I don't know, in Australia, what would be it from Sydney to the
Sydney to
other
Perth.
side?
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So my father would say that Bombay is very far away, literally, in metaphorically as well. Come from a lower middle class family. My father was a teacher, so it was a dream that not many people would like to dream often in that part of the world at that time. But it was not easy. Um, but what was easy for me, because I was so focused on it, so everything which was difficult for me or for anybody for that matter wasn't as sort of I didn't look at it as a struggle. I just look at, okay, there's a problem, we have to solve it. And we solved it with the help of my friends, my dramatist friends, friends, those who were well wishers, who believed in me, and the opposition from the society, from jealous peers, and this normal thing, that when you do well, and they don't like it, and but I think those are so important, the oppositions, the struggles, the hurdles, because those are the things which help you to grow and to make to cultivate a bigger heart. uh, and if you consider yourself not above what you do. I mean, when I say what not above what you do, means that if you are practicing art and you are not bigger than art,
Yeah.
so you are trying to merge yourself in the sea of art. You are a drop. You are a drop in the ocean. And if you
True.
remember that metaphor, then everything, your ego doesn't matter, your humiliation doesn't matter, your struggles and hurdles do not matter. Yeah, I think it's very important that we should face hurdles, especially to go toward the things that you love.
Yeah. Now, you've acted in a lot of film industries, a lot of language industries within India, and you have done a lot of international projects. Do you find like a fundamental difference in the way that film industries in India work and they work internationally, or you reckon that that when it comes to the art, it's the same everywhere, and the difference is not as fundamental as people may think?
I would say, in terms of ability of people think creatively, I don't find any difference, because I think, have amazingly talented, people in India. The only thing probably which is fundamentally different is the work culture, the
Hmm.
culture of sincerity and honesty and dedication from the side of especially those who are putting in the money. I think the people, those who are putting in the money into the industry, they need to be educated well. They need to. I'm not talking about all of them. I'm just talking about most of them, though. The work culture need can be way better. The writing can be better as well. um, and the how do I say, the gravity of of the practice of art, especially acting.
Oh,
How deep can you go? The meticulous planning, the precise execution of your planning, of your dream, which you are slowly putting into the paper and then execute it through the shooting process, post production process. I think there is a big difference. I think it has got immense room and scope to improve. Indian audience, because of the last 40 to 40 years, 70, 60, late 60s, from especially since 75 or 80, last few three and a half decades, they've watched films which are really, really very low quality films. I'm talking about 99% of the films are very low quality films. So their taste buds are different. It's like, almost, as I keep saying it again and again, almost consuming fast food. It is appealing on your tongue, but as it goes down the throat, it is not good for your body. But who cares? So it is very difficult, as I said, very difficult. How many people are inspired by Ramakrishna Paramahansa Dev? How many people are inspired by Sri Aurobindo? Because they talk about things which are subtle, intangible, but which are of higher quality, to help people to live a higher quality life. So that struggle is going to be there, and I must accept it. I get frustrated sometimes, but I must accept it, and I am, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful to know that you are so you're so into the Indian spiritual traditions, and you're speaking about Ramakrishna Paramhans and Sri
Of
Aurobindo.
course,
It's
of
yeah,
course,
it's
yes.
And I have to ask this because your movie English, it was a huge hit, and I think especially with a lot of people who live abroad, it struck a special chord. So, what
Yes.
was that movie like? And if you could tell us a bit more, generally speaking, about the experience.
See, I was I was like new to film industry then. This was my third film.
Mm,
And I did films before 1990 in Assamese film industry. I acted in at least 4 to 5 films. So I knew how it works. I saw the nuts and bolts of movie making because I was busy with production as well, acted
mhm,
as well, directing, assistant directed, and then I was busy with the post production part of it. So I've seen all the aspects of movie making,
mhm,
and so it wasn't new. Like for me, it wasn't a new experience in movie, but
mhm,
because I have not acted in movies since 1990 till
mhm,
2010,
mhm,
so there was a gap. So I was finding my feet,
mhm,
and that too with Sridevi, who has done 300 films.
mhm,
and I and if you count my Assamese films, uh, before I did English should be around 4 or 5 films. So I was pretty young in the age wise,
mhm,
experience wise. So and then but she had been such a generous co-actor, extremely respectful, loving, affectionate, and sincere, and kind of punctuality and sincerity that you rarely see in other artists. I would call her an artist rather than an actor because I
mhm,
consider that you remain an actor when you don't understand the higher purpose
mhm,
of art, when you do not adhere to the when you become bigger than art, and then you remain an actor.
mhm.
When you consider art is bigger than you, is way bigger than anybody,
Yeah.
and that means you understand the purpose of it, then you are an artist because you are a practitioner of art, and that's why you are called an artist. Or probably someone else would call you an artist and you do not consider yourself, you're not arrogant enough to consider yourself an artist. So
Mhm,
Sridevi was one artist that I would say she was an artist, in
mhm,
real sense of the word. She knew exactly what to do. She had been always, as I said, kind, always listening to everything which is happening,
mhm,
sensitive enough to see what is going behind the camera as well. And
mhm,
she's super sensitive in front of the camera. So I
mhm,
was one of the luckiest actors in India, probably in the world, who acted with her. And the director Gauri Shinde,
mhm,
she is a gem of a person who had so much warmth and love for his actors.
mhm,
She found me out of the blue, from from somewhere, and till date we are very good friends, which is rare. Not with every director that I am still friends. I finish my work and I come out once in a while. You exchange notes or say hello on WhatsApp or whatever. But with Gauri, I go to her place when I'm in Bombay. She would
mhm,
find out how I was doing, and so yeah, it's a very special relationship with Gauri, Sridevi. And recently I acted in a film called Ulaj,
mhm,
and I played Jahnavi Kapoor's father. It's sort of a full circle.
mhm,
And I was so happy because she was 14 when I met her first on the sets
mhm,
of Vinglish. And
mhm,
then I get to play her father. So it was very nostalgic for me.
mhm,
And it was nostalgic for her as well.
mhm.
So yes, it's this very special in my life, Vinglish. Yes.
Yeah. And also you've made a great transition to OTT platform. In fact, I think you have acted in the Star Trek series as well. I think which is available on OTT. So how has that transition been? Is it very different from doing art in other platforms, or it's similar?
I don't think there is any technical difference in terms of the craft of acting. I don't think there is any. My first one probably was Not Star Trek. My first OTT platform experience was Delhi Crime,
Mhm,
which got an Emmy
mhm,
last the Delhi Crime won.
mhm,
And I the only difference, if you look at it from a macro perspective, then you would
mhm,
see that in OTT platforms, if it is episodic, then you, and if you are working with people, those who are creative enough and they understand
mhm,
life more, in a nuanced way,
mhm,
then you get to see, or the writer, the director would go to the houses of the smaller characters. When I say smaller characters, mean not the protagonists only, but
mhm,
also the other characters. The camera goes with them into the houses, and you get to know more about ordinary people.
mhm,
Those who are not hero, or
mhm.
those who are not so-called big heroes,
Yep.
and that's how you empathize with the struggles of everyday life, people from all walks of life. And I think that is the gift of OTT platforms to the audience, that you have time to explore those things. But as I said, that is also shrinking, unless because there is most of the people, those who come to make series with the intent to make money, they shut those possibilities. They only go with typical tested masala formula way. There's a bad guy, there's a good guy, and then life becomes binary and it becomes boring.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so these are the two differences, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, but you
My
made a very
transition, my
yeah.
transition, there was no transition because you're acting in front of the camera, you're getting a script, the director is there. It's just that it's probably, if you're playing a role which is long, which sort of
Mhm.
spans through the story, then it's like a test match. It's like a novel instead of a short story.
Sure,
Yeah.
story. Yeah, and you made a very pertinent point that it the camera goes into the lives of ordinary people, and there's an opportunity to explore all the characters,
Yes.
not just the main
Yes.
characters. Now I want to ask you, Adil, that people who want to get into acting, there'll be a
Yeah.
lot of people who will be watching this. What would be your advice to those youngsters who have those dreams and who want to make it? I mean, what would be your advice?
Well, incidentally, I have just started. I had been in Delhi and I've started teaching for like next 15, 20 days at the National School of Drama.
Wow.
So I would say I had been teaching in National School of Drama since last, when I started in 99, actually teaching. And my only advice probably would be that find out if it is meant for you.
Hmm.
uh, um, you know, what kind of actor you want to become, who are your inspirations,
Hmm.
and if you don't get to do that, are you ready to face the consequences? You
Hmm.
see what I mean? Because there is no guarantee that you will get a job. There is always some role or the other, in smaller characters. You'll get by. You will survive. But if you love acting, that means to find out in life whether you are casting yourself in the right role as an actor in society. Do you really love it? How do you
Mhm.
find out, do you really love it? One technique is, if you want to be an actor, I would presume that you would have your power of imagination. And
Mhm.
if you do have, imagine that you might not get paid, or you may not become famous. You may not become, a celebrity. No one would recognize you for next 15 to 20 years. Will you
Mhm.
be able to still act, to go and work every day?
Mhm.
If you do, that means probably or you are in love with the craft. And if you are in love with the craft, it doesn't matter whether you will become famous or if you are not rich enough. Because you love what you do. You're doing things which you love to do. So you should be happy, ideally, and learn the craft.
Mhm.
When you learn the craft, you will stay in this field for a long time. Nobody can ignore you because you know what you are doing. But if you are waiting for flukes and some sort of very superficial understanding of acting, then you may be cast aside at any day. Somebody better would come and take your place.
Yeah. And lastly, Adil, I know a very tough question, but can you pick your top three movies of yourself?
Oh dear God. Oh God. Yeah, that's not fair.
Okay, five. I'll give you five.
I would say, yeah, I would definitely start with Life of Pi. I think it's one of the most beautiful movies that I've ever done. English Vinglish, because of its content, because of its how well it is made, though in the commercial genre, but it's well made. Mukti Bhavan, which is or Hotel Salvation, as it is known in English language. One of the most touching movies that I have done. Sunrise, which is the most difficult film I've ever done, but it's very close to my heart. Actually, directed by a writer director who lives in Sydney, Partho Gupta, and I have
Okay.
just received his second a script from him like today. This is very coincidental that I'm talking to Australia today. Um, and then I would say there's a Bengali film called Mati. Um, yeah, there's another film which is coming up called Footprints on Water. Yeah, and of course this Norwegian film that I did called What Will People Say? And there are many more, but these are definitely my favorites for sure.
Yeah. Adil, thank you so much for taking our time and speaking with us. And I'm sure we are going to speak with you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So kind of you for inviting me. Thanks.